The Jewish Channel's Week in Review. An anti-Zionist advocate appointed to a statewide Republican Party position, actor and author Michael Tucker, and more of the Jewish news that's changing your world right now in this episode of the Week in Review. Hello, and welcome to the Jewish Channel's Week in Review. I'm Stephen I. Weiss. A man contracted to work on anti-Zionism campaigns within the past year was appointed as Director of Jewish Outreach for the New York Republican State Committee last week, the Jewish Channel can report. Yossi Gestetner was appointed to the state Republican Party position on June 12th with a press release declaring, during the last 7 years, Mr. Gestetner has been a resilient voice for conservative values and Republican ideals, and that Yossi has illustrated his broad understanding and deep connection to members of the Jewish community. Gestetner has been a freelance political and media operative, running a blog, gestetnerupdates.com, and posting on Twitter. However, following an investigation of multiple years' worth of Gestetner's writings and work and an hour-long on-camera interview, the Jewish Channel has found that the new Director of Jewish Outreach for New York Republicans has held a number of professional positions and maintains certain opinions that are often considered at odds with standard Republican Party doctrine, including some that differ strongly from broader Jewish opinion. These include his work for and choice not to repudiate an anti-Zionist group, his advocacy on behalf of violent offenders and sexual abusers within the ultra-Orthodox community, and his positions on government assistance programs. The Jewish Channel's investigation found that Gestetner held a contract position in the summer of 2011 with the anti-Zionist group True Torah Jews Against Zionism. The organization's website, JewsAgainstZionism.com, declares on its front page, traditional Jews are not Zionists, and explains in greater detail that the Zionist ideology is totally contrary to traditional Jewish law and beliefs and the teachings of the Holy Torah. In the interview I held with Gestetner last week, he said that his work for True Torah Jews Against Zionism was done, quote, publicly and was, quote, not a secret. He said that he shouldn't be held responsible for the beliefs of past clients. Here are some of what he had to say in that interview about Zionism, anti-Zionism, and his personal beliefs. The Hasidic community broadly, the ultra-Orthodox community broadly, is known for being explicitly anti-Zionist in many cases. Are you a Zionist?
I'm an American. I live in the United States, and I hope to see that people who live in Israel, such as I have immediate family, that they are safe and sound where they live.
So, but do you support the existence of the Jewish government of the Jewish state of Israel?
If I support that people should live there and be safe and sound, of course.
But that's different, because we've heard the Neturei Karta, and we've heard many anti-Zionist groups saying...
The Neturei Karta...
I'm not saying you're Neturei Karta, but I'm saying we've heard many Neturei Karta say we support Jews living there, but we don't support what they believe is... I forget what the exact words would be, but a corrupt or invalid Zionist government.
Nobody is at least in my circles, and I would say nobody. Obviously, you have some people from all persuasions. I don't think people would suggest that we gotta have a type of government which doesn't support civil rights and other stuff. And taking an example like the Neturei Karta, even the Satmar Rebbe, right. he wasn't a great fan of Neturei Karta. In other words, there's one thing of people in the community to have an ideological or religious debate about Israel being a state, or people living there without a state and so forth, is one thing. There's another thing, people being out there and undermining the existence of the state of Israel. It's a fine line.
Do you have on your platform at all the issue of Israel? What do you have to say about the group that you worked for, True Torah Jews Against Zionism?
Again, the group. I'm not familiar with the day-to-day work. I obviously know that they think. Well, I obviously know that
you were engaged in a marketing effort for them. They're the front of their page, which I can read in 30 seconds. I can read to you.
I am aware.
The basic statement that although there are those who refuse to accept the teachings of our rabbis and will continue to support the Zionist state, there are also many who are totally unaware of the history of Zionism and its contradiction to the beliefs of Torah True Jews. That's the top paragraph on their website. I assume it's been the top paragraph for years, since there are many things else here that haven't changed in years.
Obviously,
What is your position, since you worked for them just last year?
Again, what I'm saying is, I've seen this organization out there. I've seen some literature about them. I know that their continuous argument is that that again, as I put it, true Torah Jews shouldn't have anything with the state of Israel or not. But when somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, we gotta have your media consulting," we're gonna consulting. So again, what I'm saying to you is, when we finish this interview,
right?
I'm sorry if I'm getting a little bit agitated. If you finish this interview, pick up a phone to WABC New York or any TV or radio station which may have conservative owners or conservative talk shows, and tell them, how is it possible that you had an ad? Don't you know what it says the front page? It's irrelevant.
But I'm not asking you
it's
that
irrelevant.
anymore. That's not what I've been asking you for several minutes now. I've been asking you, what do you, the director of Jewish outreach for the state GOP, have to say about anti-Zionism?
Anti-Zionism in general? As the director of outreach to the Jewish community for the New York State GOP, we gotta see to it that all stripes and sects within the Jewish community find a home in the community. And obviously, one of the strong points of the Republican Party is to make sure that the state of Israel is successful, people there live secure, and to try to paint me into a corner, probably now for 50 minutes, to say specific words, to play a game. I'm not.
You know their messaging. You know what they have
to say.
I'm asking you what you have to say about their message.
As in my capacity as director,
Jews are not Zionists.
Again, as in my capacity as director of Jewish outreach, I'm not here to give my opinions about groups and organizations. Obviously, people have all different ideological differences. They have certain ways how they look at things. But if you ask me as a professional, somebody who has understanding, at least I hope, over time, and relationships with editors and reporters in the media. And if somebody goes to me and say, "Hey, Yossi, we're working now on a project and we want to talk to some reporters. Are you willing to, can you help us?" Yes, I can help you. If somebody has an advocacy organization that advocates for certain things, and they want to talk with the media, or they want to have some public relations or marketing, my personal beliefs are irrelevant.
Right. And now the state Republican Party is employing you
again
and asking you to represent its message. And in representing its message, what does the state Republican Party director of Jewish outreach have to say about Torah True Jews Against Zionism?
Okay. I haven't spoken with the chairman or the executive director specifically what they say about this group or that group, but as people know, for many years the Republican Party was closer to the Jewish community on the issue of Israel than were, say, presidents like Jimmy Carter or President Obama. And I think.
Can you venture a guess what Ed Cox, the head of the state GOP, would have to say?
Ed Cox would definitely say that the New York State GOP, as the Republican Party nationally, wants to see the state of Israel succeed and people be there safe and secure, because Israel is the only true friend and ally to the United States, and the only true place of freedom that the United States or the West at all in general has in the Middle East. So if people would get again, so if people would get bogged down on specifics, I don't think, okay, give me a list of 200 groups, check X. He's not gonna waste my time or his intelligence.
And yet his director of Jewish outreach, who worked for Torah True Jews Against Zionism, is not willing, after repeated questions, to condemn any point of what Torah True Jews Against Zionism has to say. That's what you're saying?
Is in the context of me being director of Jewish outreach to the New York State Republican Party, I'm not in a position to make statements on behalf of the party on issues, on a whole host of issues. But I gotta see to it that, and I gotta help that the Republican platform, the Republican officials, the Republican elected officials should come closer to the Jewish community, and the Jewish community should come closer to the Republican Party.
Gestetner also has a history of advocating on behalf of those community members accused of violent crimes and sexual abuse against other members of the community. On the controversial issue currently in the news of ultra-Orthodox leaders saying that community members should consult a rabbi prior to reporting such crimes, The Jewish channel found that on April 1st of this year, Gestetner wrote on his blog, "The Jewish system forbids one Jew to tell on another Jew as a first. However, if a person thinks that a crime has been committed, the person can consult with someone who has no bias in the outcome, such as a rabbi." The Jewish channel found one surprising response on Gestetner's part to one of the most notorious crimes in the ultra-Orthodox community from the past year, that of the New Square firebombing of a community member because he was attending prayer services outside the main community there. The firebomber, Shaul Spitzer, was an assistant to the Grand Rebbe. He pleaded guilty to the crime and received a 7-year sentence for his attack that nearly killed his victim, Aaron Rottenberg, left him hospitalized for a month, and caused third-degree burns over more than half of his body. The day after the crime took place, Gestetner described it this way on Twitter: "Someone in Square, while smoking, slipped on flammable material, so he caught fire." Asked what he meant by that post in the interview, Gestetner said it was meant as, quote, sarcasm. In our interview, Gestetner also said that he thinks the ultra-Orthodox should support the Republican Party because it is the party of larger government assistance programs. At the national level, Republicans are currently arguing for shrinking government assistance programs, while Democrats are currently arguing for growing government assistance programs. But Gestetner said it's the Republicans who should be seen as the better party for those seeking more government assistance.
Here in New York State, we have now Governor Cuomo. He's a Democrat. He has taken the axe to education and to Medicaid. He's a Democrat. So the idea of cutting social programs or the safety net, you can see on the left side too. If you go back and look at the numbers, President Bush in his first 6 years in office, when he had a Republican House and Senate besides for a short period, spending on all these programs that you just mentioned increased way faster than it did when Bill Clinton was in office, and Bill Clinton was a Democrat. So the idea that the Republicans are out there saying, "Hey, you're poor, here's the water, jump in, or I'm pushing you in," is inaccurate. It's again, I understand this is how some people perceive it to be, and maybe in the past the Republican Party put a stronger focus on business rather than the poor. You can make their argument, but I think over time the Republican Party has been very active in helping the poor, and helping people to go, as you said, from one level to the next doesn't necessarily mean that they gotta cut the programs, but you gotta, I use this example a lot. I'm not saying it's accurate on the numbers, but if you're a family of 4 or 5 and you earn $35,000 a year, you're eligible for, I don't know, $35,000 in government assistance. But if you're going to earn $5,000 more, you're going to lose half or all of it. And if you're going to open a business, I think then you have a problem receiving some of these benefits. So I'm not suggesting that the Republican Party should, in order to help people grow, they should say, okay, you don't need any programs. What I'm saying is, if you want to get people off these programs, you got to be willing to give them a little bit more, even if they earn more, and then slowly but surely get them off of it. And then if somebody earns $1, don't tax them too. It's not necessarily two, but take somebody like myself. I'm trying to, I'm still working, and if it comes the end of the year, the end of the quarter, you got to pay tax. I'm thinking, what exactly did I do the last 3 months? I'm barely trying to earn some money.
Meanwhile, on the international front, the Iran nuclear talks taking place in Moscow ended without any resolution this week. This is the 3rd round of nuclear talks, and the lack of progress is clearly frustrating many diplomats. The European Union's High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Catherine Ashton, said, quote, "We expect Iran to decide whether it is willing to make diplomacy work," adding, "It remains clear that there are significant gaps between the substance of the two positions held by Western leaders and Iran." An additional meeting is scheduled for July 3rd. It has been dubbed a technical follow-up meeting, which suggests Western leaders don't expect it to amount to much. But Iran's chief nuclear negotiator said he expects significant results from it. But Israel's primary work on the international front this week was removing African immigrants. The government of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has begun airlifts to send to South Sudan the estimated 60,000 Sudanese who've crossed the lately porous border between Egypt and Israel, seeking refuge and opportunity. Only about 1,000 of those heading to South Sudan are actually from that region. The other 59,000 are from parts of Sudan that are not as yet safe for their return. At the same time, virtually no American Jewish groups have offered comment on Israel's African immigrant situation or the riots against them that took place last month. And yet, as Alison Kaplan-Summer noted in a blog post at Haaretz's website, a great many Jewish organizations have quickly moved to praise President Barack Obama for his announcement that he'll suspend deportation of the children of illegal immigrants here in the United States. Kaplan-Summer also noted that on the same day that these Africans are being deported from Israel on the assumption that they're taking jobs from Israelis, The head of Israel's Hotel Association warned that it faces a severe labor shortage of thousands of jobs that Israelis won't do in the upcoming tourist season. Meredith Gansman spoke with the Jewish actor and author Michael Tucker. Here's that interview.
You may know my guest Michael Tucker from his film and television career, but today we're talking books. Michael, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's my pleasure.
Let's get right into your new book, After Annie. Talk to me about what inspired it.
It was generated by a real-life experience. My wife, Jill Ankeberry, had cancer, breast cancer, 23 years before, and then was completely clean and had a recurrence about 3 years ago. It went as well as it could possibly have gone. It was very small. She got it very early. They took care of it. She's cancer-free now, and everything's fine. But the word recurrence hit us both in a very hard way. We had gotten used to the word cancer, but recurrence was terrifying. So I started to write it down.
That writing became After Annie, a fictional story about a man named Herbie who is dealing with his wife Annie's cancer. It's
about a man lost, trying to figure out who he is without her. He figures there was Herbie and there was Annie, and then there was this third person, which was Herbie and Annie. And Herbie and Annie had its own career, its own bank account, its own people who worked for them. You know, it was a huge part of their life, the two of them. So he's not only losing Annie, he's also losing Herbie and Annie. And this is taking such a huge chunk out of him that he doesn't know who he is. But, as my publisher wrote on the book jacket, if you think this is a grief-stricken, sad tale, think again, because Herbie's very funny, and he's very resourceful.
When you talk about the idea of Herbie and Annie, I feel that's also very similar to the idea of Tuckerberry. And if, for our audiences who aren't familiar with that idea, that's you, Michael Tucker, and your wife, Jill Eikenberry, together, Tuckerberry. Maybe it was one of the first celebrity marriage names. Before there was Brangelina, there was Tuckerberry.
Way before Brangelina. Yeah, when we incorporated way back when, we were looking for a name for our corporation, and that's what popped up. It was either Tuckerberry or Eikenucker. So we thought we did much better this way.
Yeah, I would say so. Jill Eikenberry and Michael Tucker met in 1969 while acting in a play and have been together for the past 43 years. But in 1986, their marriage took a turn for the small screen when the two were cast as married lawyers on the long-running series LA Law. A couple that works together and plays together must stay together if it's with you two.
Before LA Law, really, we didn't work together. We had set, not by choice, you know, she got the jobs she got and I got the jobs I got. Once or twice we had been in the same play, but never really face to face. She was always the romantic ingenue and I was the funny guy in the other scene. So we never worked together, really. And that was fine, and I think most acting couples don't like to work together. It's too intense.
But for Tuckerberry, being husband and wife on and off screen did work. To hear more from Michael Tucker, including his take on working with Woody Allen, tune into the full broadcast version of The Week in Review.
Thank you, Meredith. That's all for this week from all of us here at The Jewish Channel. Be well. The Jewish Channel is available on cable. Time Warner Cable Channel 528, IO Optimum Channel 291, RCN Channel 268, Bright House Channel 330, Verizon Fios Channel 900, Cox Channel 1, Frontier Communications, and now on Comcast Cable in the on-demand menu under Premium Channels. For more information, visit tjctv.com.